You've probably seen the headlines by now. "I will sue you." Splashed across every gossip site, every trending feed. Meghan Markle's name once again is all over social media. And this time, it's not for a charity speech or royal drama, it's for what insiders are calling a full-blown meltdown backstage at Paris Fashion Week. She arrived like it was her big comeback moment. High heels clicking, designer cape flowing, that practiced smile, the one she's mastered for years. Everyone thought this was her "I'm back" moment. Paris, the city of fashion, the perfect stage. But what looked glamorous on the outside turned into a slow-motion disaster behind the scenes. Inside the Balenciaga venue, it was chaos in the best way. Stylists running, makeup artists brushing on last-minute touches, hair dryers buzzing. The energy was electric. Everyone was preparing for the next big show, until Meghan walked in. Now here's where things get strange. Reports later confirmed Meghan wasn't actually on the guest list. Yeah, you heard that right. She wasn't officially invited. Word is she texted the new creative director herself, saying she'd love to come. And honestly, that little detail changed everything. When she entered, the whole vibe shifted. Crew members froze mid-task. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. You could feel the air go heavy. One insider said, "It was like someone pressed mute on the entire room." Stylists started whispering. Assistants buried themselves in fake tasks, zipping bags, sorting hangers that didn't need sorting. No one knew how to react. It's Paris. People notice everything. The smallest look, the tiniest gesture, it all matters. And Meghan's energy was off. Within hours, social media caught on. A short backstage clip leaked online. It showed her walking through the hall, giving that half smile, adjusting her outfit. On camera, it looked fine. But people noticed the stiffness, the forced grin. That awkward moment when she tried to greet a stylist who looked away. Comments exploded. Why does she look so tense? She's trying too hard? Something feels off. TikTok was flooded with frame-by-frame analyses of her expression. And let's be real, Paris is brutal when it comes to reading energy. Backstage insiders said she seemed nervous, like she was acting out confidence instead of feeling it. The overposed selfies, the duck face expression, the constant cheek-sucking for the cameras. Some even joked she looked like she was in a competition with her own reflection. And that outfit, let's talk about it. Critics called it blanky chic. Others said it looked like a Star Wars costume gone wrong. It didn't scream Duchess comeback. It screamed, "I'm trying too hard to fit in." Now, compare that with other royals. Princess Kate, for example, works with designers who actually invite her, tailor her pieces, plan months ahead. Charlene of Monaco, same thing. Deep ties with Armani and Dior. But Meghan? Sources said her look felt rushed, like it was pieced together overnight. And Paris noticed. Oh, they noticed. The backstage chatter grew louder. Who invited her? One assistant whispered. Was this planned? Someone else asked. Even photographers, people who live for these moments, kept their distance. Normally they'd rush forward, but this time they hesitated. It only got worse from there. As Meghan moved toward the mirror station, one stylist muttered something under their breath about her costume choice. Meghan froze. Witnesses say she turned sharply and asked, "Excuse me, what did you say?" The stylist tried to brush it off, but the tension was real. Voices rose. Cameras picked it up. A few seconds later, the clip ends, but not before you can hear Meghan saying something that sounds a lot like, "You'll regret that." The audio isn't clear, but that was enough for the internet to lose its mind. Within minutes, Meghan loses it in Paris was trending worldwide. Gossip accounts replayed the video on loop. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Some fans defended her, saying she was being provoked or disrespected. Others laughed, calling it the shortest fashion comeback in history. By midnight, the story had grown its own legs. Backstage meltdown, Paris rejects Meghan, Balenciaga drama. Every headline sounded worse than the last. And Meghan's team? Completely silent. It's the kind of silence that speaks louder than any statement. Paris was supposed to be her reintroduction, a reminder that she could still command attention, that she still mattered in the world of high fashion. But that night, she didn't just lose the spotlight. She lost control of the story, and now, with that backstage video still circulating, it's not the designers, or the clothes, or even the show people are talking about. It's her face, her tone, her energy. And one question keeps echoing across every corner of the internet. What really happened backstage in Paris? It didn't take long. Just a few hours after that tense backstage clip leaked, the internet turned it into a wildfire. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, it was everywhere. Within one night, the hashtag Meghan threatens to sue hit #1 worldwide. Millions of views, thousands of reactions. Everyone had an opinion, and no one could stop talking. People woke up the next morning to find the Duchess of Sussex trending again, but not for a speech, not for charity, not for anything royal. This time, the world saw her in a raw, unguarded moment. And that's what made it explode. The comment section was split. Some defended her. She looked stressed, not angry, one fan posted. Another said, "You can tell she's being mocked." Anyone would snap under that pressure. But others weren't so kind. "That's the real Meghan," one wrote. "The mask slipped." Another called it the most awkward meltdown Paris has ever seen. Behind the scenes, fashion insiders started leaking more details. One stylist who worked near the Backstage entrance told a French magazine, "She walked in like she owned the place, but no one was expecting her." Another said bluntly, "It was uncomfortable to watch. You could tell people didn't know how to act around her." Apparently, Meghan had texted the creative director herself days before the event. She wrote that she wanted to show support for the new collection. In his later interview, the director admitted, "Yes, she reached out personally. I wanted it to be a surprise. I didn't tell anyone she was coming." He smiled while saying it, but you could tell it wasn't the kind of surprise Paris wanted. Inside Balenciaga's PR office, panic hit fast. Their brand name was now tied to a royal controversy. The team worked overnight trying to calm things down. By morning, they released a short statement. It called Meghan a valued guest who attended the show privately. No denial, no defense, just neutral damage control. But experts weren't buying it. Fashion commentators said Paris doesn't forgive what it sees as pretension. One editor explained, "You can't fake influence here. You're either part of the circle or you're not, and everyone knows when you're trying too hard." Then came another blow, the clothing controversy. Rumors spread that the gown she wore wasn't custom-made or gifted. It was a borrowed sample straight off the rack. Some even claimed the tag was still hanging inside. A viral post showed a zoomed-in image of her neckline saying, "Is that a tag?" The internet doesn't miss anything. By the next morning, memes were everywhere. Screenshots of her nervous adjustments became punchlines. One meme read, "When you sneak into a party you weren't invited to." Another showed her with the caption, "Borrowed couture, borrowed confidence." Harsh, but that's how fast things move online. Meanwhile, Meghan's camp went silent for almost 24 hours, until someone from her circle spoke anonymously to a US outlet. The quote was simple, "She's furious. This has been twisted beyond reality." She never raised her voice. She's considering legal action against outlets spreading false stories. Legal experts jumped on that right away. One media analyst explained that for public figures like Meghan, suing for defamation is tricky. She'd have to prove actual malice, that the outlets knowingly spread lies, he said. And when video evidence exists, even if it's out of context, that's a hard battle to win. But anger wasn't the only emotion floating around that night. According to one insider who saw her leave, Meghan looked shaken. The confident stride she showed on arrival was gone. Her team led her quietly through a side exit, away from the flashes. She skipped the after-party, canceled her dinner plans, and flew back to her hotel. Another witness described it this way. She looked exhausted, like she realized too late that Paris wasn't going to play along. And while Meghan retreated, the Paris fashion world kept spinning. The next day's shows went on as usual. Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton. But even as models walked and cameras clicked, backstage everyone was whispering about one thing, Meghan Markle. The supposed fashion comeback that turned into a global meme, Balenciaga's next press release barely mentioned her. They focused on the artistry of the new line. In other words, they moved on. But the internet didn't. By that night, journalists were digging for more footage, other angles, anything new. Gossip channels claimed to have unseen clips. Others analyzed her body language, claiming she was visibly triggered. Everyone had a take, and every take got clicks. Through it all, Meghan's silence became its own story. Was she planning a response? Would she sue? Would she issue a statement? Theories piled up. Some said she was waiting for legal advice. Others said she wanted to let the buzz die down. But one thing was undeniable. Paris Fashion Week had moved on, but the spotlight hadn't. It stayed locked on Meghan. Every time another show started, her clip resurfaced online. Every time a designer posted a photo, someone commented, "Still thinking about Meghan." Paris may love a scandal, but this one hit differently. It wasn't about clothes anymore. It was about credibility, status, authenticity, the three things that define fashion in that city, and the three things Meghan was now being questioned for, and that's how a 10-second clip turned into a 24-hour storm. One whispered comment backstage, one stiff smile, and suddenly, Meghan Markle was once again the world's headline. Fashion Week continued. Models strutted, editors applauded, lights flashed. But the real show wasn't on the runway. It was online, replayed millions of times, frame by frame, and for Meghan, it was brutal. 2 days later, Paris had moved on. but the internet hadn't. The clip was still everywhere. News anchors called it the Backstage scandal. YouTube commentators replayed it in slow motion, breaking down every blink, every step, every smirk. Meghan's team was reportedly in full crisis mode. Public opinion split right down the middle. Half the people said she was bullied, cornered, and pushed to her limit. The other half said she showed her true face when things didn't go her way. That's how fast a reputation can flip online. One viral moment, and the story writes itself. Insiders said Meghan was furious about how it all spiraled. One source close to her told a U.S. outlet, she feels betrayed. She trusted the people there. Her lawyers were already reviewing footage and headlines, looking for anything that could justify a lawsuit. But behind the legal talk, some observers said the damage was already done. Paris has a long memory. It doesn't forget who fits in and who doesn't. Fashion experts were blunt. Paris forgives many things, one wrote, but not desperation. You can't buy belonging here. Others pointed out how other royals, Kate Middleton, Charlene of Monaco, blend elegance with restraint. Meghan's night, they said, felt loud, forced, like a performance no one asked for. Still, supporters pushed back. They said she's being judged harder because she refuses to play by old royal rules. To them, she's a woman trying to define herself, not a scandal to be mocked. Balenciaga quietly pulled her photos from official galleries. No statement, no defense, just silence. That silence said everything. For Meghan, the Paris trip that was supposed to rebuild her image had done the opposite. Instead of applause, she got whispers. Instead of acceptance, she got memes. And in the end, it wasn't the outfit, the camera flashes, or the headlines that hurt most. It was the reminder that in Paris, authenticity isn't optional. The story might fade tomorrow, but the question stays. Was Meghan unfairly treated, or did she walk herself into a storm she wasn't ready for? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.